Welcome back to Catch Some SoulShine, where I help you awaken brilliance after life's darkest moments. Last week, I talked about sunshine, exercise, and art. I happen to be on a little vacation right now, and I am doing all of those. In fact, you can tell I just took a long walk today out in the sunshine. What I really want to talk to you today about is whether you're dealing with a loss from a loved one or other circumstances, navigating a successful entrepreneur business and receiving abundance while others are experiencing loss, or at times you are not feeling that abundant, can be something difficult to navigate, and it's something that people don't often talk about. So let's get going. If you didn't listen to last week's episode about sunshine and exercise, I have a lot of research on that and answer the questions why those things are important. Take a listen and hit that like and subscribe button. Share this with your friends because that really does help me get this message to more people. So let's dig in. Before we dive into the grief and abundance theme, let's talk about what the body does when we experience both of those things. Dr. Kathy Shear, the director of the Center for Complicated Grief at the university, says, grief is the form that love takes when someone we love dies. This helps us see grief not as something that we have to overcome, but something that we transition through and learn to accept and live with on a daily basis. The grief is always with us. It can become smaller and smaller as we incorporate other things into our lives that help us understand it and move through it. Neurologically, grief activates all kinds of places in our brain, the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala, where that memory can be stored. We need to understand why these areas in the brain are involved in memory, processing emotion, and mentalizing. For entrepreneurs specifically, grief presents unique challenges because it can affect the momentum of your business. I know this firsthand because it's almost like you tend to shut down and not want to move forward, feel that stuck feeling. You're caught in a place where you want to expand and thrive and grow, but yet you want to remember your loved one or sit with that grief for a little bit. Those are perfectly normal experiences. Psychologist Adam Grant notes that grief is not a problem to be solved. It's a process to be honored. When we as entrepreneurs try to bypass the grief work, it can delay healing, diminish capacity for empathy, connection, and the very qualities that make us successful in the first place. For many business leaders, it's what's called contextual grief. It's the awareness of suffering or lack in community around you while you're experiencing huge personal successes. This creates cognitive dissonance, which requires careful integration. I work with an amazing coach who specializes in somatics, where your body keeps the score. Grief is stored in our body on a cellular level. Sometimes when we dissociate, it can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing, depending on how you dissociate. If you learn to dissociate by looking at the grief as if you're looking into a picture and not actually being in the grief, it can be healing because you can create that separation. But if you are inside of that grief and reliving that over and over, that's a traumatic response and can be very disturbing to your health. Sometimes live that over and over at first, but learning to separate yourself and dissociate can be very beneficial. So there's a dual reality of abundance and awareness. How do we reconcile building wealth and experiencing abundance? Well, we're deeply aware of suffering, not with just us, but maybe with others. Research suggests that this tension, when approached mindfully, can actually enhance both success and contribution. In 2018, there was a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that found entrepreneurs who maintain awareness in social inequities while building their business report higher levels of meaning and purpose. They're also more likely to integrate social impact into their business models. So the question is, as an entrepreneur or a citizen, what can we do to help those less fortunate? The key appears to be integration rather than compartmentalization. So consider this quote from Jacqueline Novogratz. The work of our time is to recognize that we can hold the paradox of having enormous privilege while witnessing enormous suffering, and rather than retreating to the comfort of choosing one side, to stand firmly in the middle and find solutions that transform both realities. So this integration often happens in 3 phases. The first is awareness, and that means consciously being aware of the privilege that we have. Everyone has certain privileges. So what are mine? I realize that I am very privileged to have this vacation home, a good paying job, and family support. I have so much privilege. The importance is to recognize what privilege we all have. Look at yourself, take a deep look. Even if you're suffering or going through something really traumatic, there's privilege. Recognize that. Acceptance is the second phase, and that's where you embrace the dual reality without shame or denial. The third is action. How do we use action as entrepreneurs or citizens or people that want to help? We put our power and influence to address disparities that align with my values or your values. One of the things that I got into very early on in my entrepreneur journey was giving back to people suffering from addiction, because my life has been drastically impacted by addiction and death. Losing my son, my adopted son. What can I do to give back to that? I work with an organization very closely. I volunteer. I donate time and money to Ohio Can, which in my region, we help people in early recovery to the best of our ability. Sometimes with shoes for a new job, or clothing, or gifts for their little ones, a car part, a car insurance payment. It's not a lot, but sometimes just that little tiny bit of monetary help or support can get someone through that rocky phase of early recovery and make all the difference in the world. Dr. Brené Brown has done a lot of research, and what she offers insight on is when we deny our stories, they define us. When we own our stories, we get to write a brave new ending. I own my story of tremendous loss, but I'm writing my new ending because that does not have to define me. It's part of who I am. I will always have that on a cellular level, but it doesn't define who I am or where I'm going. You can apply this to an entrepreneur's journey through grief and abundance by owning both narratives, like my success and my struggles. These things make me more aware of the importance of living a fully abundant, happy, joyful life which I try to do on a daily basis. So let's talk about some practical strategies for navigating grief while building. There are specific strategies for honoring grief while maintaining business momentum. Research in neuropsychology and trauma-informed leadership provide a lot of evidence-based approaches. First is scheduled grief processing. This is really effective for entrepreneurs. In 2021, a study in the Journal of Business Venturing found that founders who dedicated a specific time to process grief rather than attempting to multitask emotional processing with business operations showed better outcomes in both recovery and performance. So what does that mean? Practically speaking, every morning I get up and do some quiet meditation. I journal on specific things that help me process that grief and write it out. Last week I talked about exercise and sunshine. Forming a tiny atomic habit that you're going to do every single day can make a profound difference in your healing journey. The way we deal with loss shapes our capacity to be present to life more than anything else. The way we protect ourselves from loss may be the way in which we distance ourselves from life. The second thing is embodied grief work. Shows strong research support. A neuroscientist, Candace Pert, demonstrated that emotions manifest physically, binding to these receptors in our body. The body does keep the score. This means grief literally lives in our bodies. This is where we get into physical practices like gentle dance movement or breath work, somatic healing. There's numerous ways that you can release that from your body. Simple walking is one of them. Fluid dancing, Tai Chi, and then really having a practitioner take you through that somatic experience, which I have been working with the somatic healer recently, Jacob, and it's been an amazing experience for me. I lost Brad 8 years ago. Willie was a couple of years ago. I was really surprised at what was coming through in my body and the sensations that I was feeling and how I was able to feel that energy move from my heart space down through my arms, out through my fingertips. So this stuff really does work, and there's research and evidence to back that up. The third thing is community connection, and this is crucial. Harvard has an 80-plus year study on adult development confirming that quality relationships are the strongest predictor of both happiness and resilience. For entrepreneurs, finding spaces where you can be vulnerable about your struggles while maintaining appropriate boundaries with your team is essential. They say we just need that one person in our lives that we can connect with and share things with, whether it be a sister, a treasured friend, clergy, parents, someone in a support group that you're involved with. One good friend is all you need, and it will prove crucial in your healing. Sheryl Sandberg, who led Facebook as CEO while grieving her husband's sudden death, said, "When life pulls you under, you can kick against the bottom, find the surface, and breathe again." Grief is a demanding companion. Over time, it teaches us about the depth of our compassion and the height of our resilience. I've said it before, grief has probably been my biggest teacher. Did I enjoy it? No. Losing my child and my grandchild and various loved ones, but it's brought me to this space of compassion that I've never experienced before. And I do think that compassion is a superpower. When we're compassionate with firm boundaries. It gives us the capacity to enact a lot more positive change in our world. Reconciling personal wealth with social awareness. Now let's address the second dimension of our topic, how to reconcile personal abundance with others' lack. This can be hard, right? You're sitting here, you're doing great, everything's wonderful, you are happy, joyous, free, positive cash flow, and you recognize somebody that you care about that is in this extreme place of lack. How do you reconcile that? Research from positive psychology talks about positive disintegration. This suggests that tension between experiencing personal success amid broader suffering can actually catalyze higher morale development. When we have success and we're living our best lives, and we can actually empathize with people that don't, it brings better morale, meaning it can transform your guilt into responsibility and show you how you can make positive changes in the world we live in. When you let go of trying to get more of what you don't really need, it frees up energy and makes a difference in the appreciation for what you have. It expands. So in other words, when you are a free giver, you're a free receiver. Like, it's that pendulum. It can't just swing this way without swinging this way. There's several evidence-based practices that can help you navigate this. Abundance stewardship, which is viewing wealth as a resource to be channeled purposefully rather than accumulated endlessly. You can still want to make a great income, but really help others. That's where the wealth comes from. There's also integrated impact models. What that means is building in some type of a social cause into your business. When you build that into your business, it's just automatic. A lot of faiths have tithing, where you automatically give a certain percentage of your income, no matter what, to your religious preference. Perspective-taking practices. Regular experiences that build empathy and understanding across socioeconomic differences. That can include service work, building relationships across differences, and that can make a huge experience in your life and your business. So, in other words, with my business, I initially built in that giving piece to organizations that I love and donated a certain percentage. But as I've grown, I have compartmentalized my giving and my business. I run my business with integrity, and I do want to help people, but I also volunteer many hours for causes that I feel are worthwhile and benefit those around me. Psychologist Paul Piff from UC Berkeley stated that perspective-taking exercises can significantly reduce the empathy gap that sometimes occurs when you accumulate wealth and power. Take time and practice these exercises to expand your understanding of others' condition. Chuck Feeney gave away his entire $8 billion fortune, and he said this: "I had one idea that never changed in my mind, that you should use your wealth to help people. I've tried to live a life that took me down a path that made me feel I'm doing something that's worthwhile." I can't stress enough how important it is to have purpose with your business and your life. If you are building a business or supporting different businesses, make sure you find the ones that are doing something worthwhile with their business, even if it means you pay a little bit more. I don't fault people that shop from low-cost websites, but I never have, because I really do want to support the small businesses and the people that have heart in the things that they are creating. Let's talk about the integration journey. There's some practical steps that you can do to help you integrate everything that we've talked about in your life or in your business. First, you want to develop emotional literacy. How do you do that? Learning to identify specific emotions related to grief and abundance beyond labels like sad or guilty creates a greater agency. So what that means is take time to actually look into this, look at yourself, identify your privileges, identify those that don't have those privileges, recognize them, and see maybe what's one little thing I can do to make a difference. Create containers for different emotions. Sometimes when I'm sad or the grief is welling up inside of me, I have a little container for that, and I can look at that container from the outside, recognize it, and move on. Another thing you can do is have specific times, like journaling in the morning, prayer and meditation, or places or practices that are specific for your grief, away from the practices that you do when you're building your business. Build a multi-dimensional support system. This is imperative. Know who you can call and who you can reach out to when you're having a difficult time. Create those lifelines. Use those. You might want professional support like a therapist or a coach, other entrepreneurs that are navigating the same challenges as you, friends and family beyond your business that can identify how you're feeling and give you support through that. Develop purpose alignment. Align your personal success with a broader purpose to reduce the conflict between wealth and disparity. Those who have a why can bear almost any how. There's a book called Who Not How that talks about delegating things you don't know how to do. Who's in your life? Do you have them? Are you seeking them? It's very important with my creative grief freedom formula is creating a community that you can rely on for support. Practice regular reflection and integration. So this isn't a one and done thing. It's something to work on lifelong. Identify new things that pop up because they will. Kristen Neff said, when we give ourselves compassion, we're opening our hearts in a way that can transform our lives. I just want to acknowledge that the journey of grief and abundance is ongoing. There's no perfect path. It's only deepening your capacity to hold both realities with compassion. Research shows that entrepreneurs who navigate this consciously develop distinctive leadership qualities, enhance empathy, comfort with complexity, and are grounded in success. I'll leave you with this quote from Mary Oliver that captures the essence of today's episode. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. Took me years to understand that this too was a gift. I hope that you use your grief as a gift to fuel you on this path of life. Widen your path for abundance, happiness, and joy. Again, please share the podcast, share it with your friends. Thank you for listening. I would really appreciate your feedback. Leave me a message or a note, and I'll see you next week on Catch Some SoulShine. I'd also like to invite you to check out the show notes because I offer a free 30 days of my journal for freedom. Every day in your inbox, you will get a prompt of something to journal on. When I first began my journaling experience, I really relied on these prompts to help lead me through this transformation. After 30 days, you can end this experience, or you can get a whole year of prompts delivered directly to your inbox. I hope you take me up on it and let me know what you think. You can also get a free 5x7 print from my highly regarded Rooted in Faith collection, a collection of 4 paintings that may provide you a little inspiration in your personal space. I will see you next week, and you don't want to miss it because I have a special guest, Tracy Matthews, who has developed her own entrepreneur business for jewelry makers, 7 figures, and now she is reinventing herself to something even bigger and better, and you will find out about it first right here on the Catch Some SoulShine podcast.